everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the Crypto Coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined by Robert from Mynth. Robert, man, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me on here. Excited to talk.
Yeah, awesome. I've been looking into Mynth a little bit. Want to learn more about that from you. I'm sure our listeners will. And it sounds like you've had quite a journey, right? This isn't just something that just popped up. You guys have been building this for a while. But man, before we jump into Mynth and all the great things you guys are doing there, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your background, and did you do anything before getting into this industry?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in tech for quite some time now. Mostly have been involved in startups and small scale companies. So founded a few different companies. I spent like a lot of my time in data science, which kind of evolved now into what we call AI. And then got into blockchain around like 2013. That's when I first got into Bitcoin. And then a couple of years later, I got really interested in CryptoKitties on Ethereum. And that's when it kind of clicked in my mind about like, this could be something. At the time, it was just like little pictures on screens, but I was like, well, that could actually represent something a bit more tangible. And so that kind of got me interested in stablecoins. So I spent a little bit of time working with different custodial stablecoin solutions. And then fast forward to like the last few years, I started building on blockchains with synthetic assets. And then last 2 years or so, I've been building Mynth, which is my current passion, bringing all the blockchains together. So Mynth is just like this interoperability solution. So that's kind of my short, quick background of like where I've been and what I'm kind of doing now.
Nice, man. We're going to jump into Mynth in a second, but I have to back up because you and I didn't even talk about this before. But man, I did pretty well with CryptoKitties in 2017. That was my intro to NFTs, and I saw all the possibilities right then and there. Like, it wasn't just about these cartoon cats. I collected sports cards as a kid, so I saw like that industry could be revolutionized with NFTs and so many things. But I purchased a few. I bred a few because that was something people don't realize with
Yeah.
those. You breed them and create new ones, and I actually did pretty well with those. So it's funny to hear. It's not many people I talk to that say they got into CryptoKitties. So interesting to hear that, man. Similar background. That opened up my world to what NFTs could be. I still think the world hasn't seen truly what an NFT can really do. They've just seen cartoon pictures.
Yeah, we're stuck a little bit in this JPEG world, right? Where we have monkey pictures, and now we're just like rotating between animals, and it's like that's cool, but like there's more that we can do, and we're starting to see some innovation there. But for me, what clicked is like this can represent a house. So like, okay, it's representing an image right now, and you can breathe it, and you can make something brand new. But like that can also represent a lease, a house, a security, a commodity. Like, it doesn't have to be an image. It can be anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, I just had a talk yesterday with a group of realtors in my hometown, and they wanted me to come in and teach them about Bitcoin and blockchain and crypto, and so I gave them a high level overview, but also talked about how it could impact their industry in the very near future. And that was one thing I talked about, was whether it's representing a whole house or fractionalized ownership in a house, a building, anything like that. I kind of mentioned how that's going to creep into their business. It's already happening in some places, and they're going to start to see that here really soon. All right, so let's jump into Mynth. So you said you've been building Mynth for 2 years now. I think people don't realize a lot of work that goes into building a quality company, project, ecosystem. So tell us about Mynth, a little bit more about what you guys are doing there, and maybe even start with like kind of what was the vision, like what led to the creation of Mynth, that spawned you to jump in.
Yeah, so to kind of give some background, so I was building like a synthetics protocol and kind of riding this DeFi explosion in blockchain, and it was all doing really well. But like the problem that I was kind of having or seeing is that like once you're in these ecosystems, you get a bit stuck, and like there's new things popping up all the time, and like sometimes you want to go into a new meme, or you want to go into a new L1 or a new L2, and it's like, well, there's no real easy path in order to get there. And there was a couple of solutions around. You can go like very specific routes, and like maybe there's like the really major ones you can get access to. But like if you're stuck in one ecosystem and you want to try out a new ecosystem, your only real viable option was to go through a centralized exchange. So like then you have to go through Binance or Kraken or Coinbase or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's friction, and that's also centralized. It's like not the vision that we really want for this decentralized kind of ecosystem. And so that was like the vision or the problem that I wanted to solve. I wanted to build this solution that would really make blockchain seamless, so it doesn't feel so much like blockchain, so that I can just like have an app on my phone and it has a balance, and then I don't really have to think about, is this on Ethereum, is this on Cardano, is this on Ton, is this on Solana? Like me as an end user shouldn't care about like the technical details about like what is this blockchain. It's like
Right.
it's just a token. It has some value. I can move it to here, I can move it to there. And so that was really my motivation, and I wanted to create this world where like we can have this vision of like connecting assets. So I feel like we kind of failed with the original vision of crypto, where like we wanted to make this digital ecosystem where everyone was connected. But what we actually ended up doing is recreating the existing fragmented system. So like we have this system in place where like if you're in Germany and I'm in USA or vice versa, like we both have bank accounts, but like they can't easily send money to each other. We're using different currencies, using different systems, and like there's a couple of solutions that kind of help bring them together. And like with Bitcoin, the vision was like, oh, brilliant, now everyone can just like be connected. So well, that worked for a couple of years, and then we had Ethereum and Cardano and 50 other blockchains, and now you might want to use Solana and I want to use Ethereum. It's like, well, okay, we have two incompatible tokens. And so that's what I wanted to solve. It's like, okay, we have incompatible tokens, but now we have the protocol in place to make them compatible. So you have Sol, I want USDC, so you just send it to me, and then Mynth will swap it, and then I will get what I want, you spend what you want, and then both parties are happy.
Man, that's a really great insight, because and I love hearing they say that, because I don't know, this is another thing we didn't really talk about either, but it's funny, is every talk I've given this year at conferences has been about a call to action to simplify the user experience. Interoperability protocols, the company that I help run is we focus on interoperability at the wallet layer. So I love to see when solutions like you have, because that really can just simplify that user experience. They don't care what network it's on, most people, right? They just want to know, can I transact? Can I send? And I've been there before. It's like, hey, yeah, I've got to pay a vendor in USDC. I've got it on ETH and they want it on Sol. And I'm like, oh, man, and then I've got to go through those friction points of swapping it over, which is, yeah, unfortunately, the easiest way right now is to deposit to exchange. And then even if I'm keeping it the same token, then withdraw it on a different network.
Yeah.
Or, there's bridges and stuff, but bridges have their own friction points as well. So it's exciting to hear that you guys are working on that, because that's the way I see the future. It's going to be smart wallets. Like if I'm holding a token and I want to send you something in our different networks, the wallet or some interlayer protocol is going to handle that for me without me seeing all that friction point. Kind of like hide the wires type concept, right? Like not everybody needs to see that. And then, or if I'm holding it and I don't have to go through 20, if I want to maybe add liquidity, I'm holding this token or a pair of tokens, I want to add liquidity to a deck somewhere, I can just easily, push a button and put how much I want. It's going to handle it for me, instead of me having to figure out all the complexity of how to add liquidity or lending or, anything like that. That's where we've got to simplify the user experience. But also, great point. I never thought about it. I do know that the ecosystems are fragmented, but like you said, like we're recreating the traditional financial systems, like hierarchy, to where yeah, you're on different ecosystems. They don't talk to each other. So how do you guys achieve that at Mynth? So tell me a little bit what you can about the technology. I guess not deep. Most of our audience is just learning, but kind of so they can understand like the mechanics of how does it work and what they can expect from Mynth.
Yeah, well, I can keep it trying high level as much as I can. So basically, you can think of Mint as a network. It's not a blockchain. It sits on top of existing blockchains, but it adds additional features to these blockchains. And what we really wanted to ensure was like we can add additional blockchains really quickly. So we made this network very versatile. So what this network is actually doing is it's validating fact statements. So then each blockchain can have its own smart contracts. But then when you want to do a swap, what is happening at the Mynth network layer is it's just like looking for a fact statement. And that fact statement can be anything, and that's why we have such powerful integrations. It can be, did Bob send this token to Alice? And that is a fact statement, and then that gets validated by our network, and then that can be read by the various blockchains in order to kind of absorb that. So that's what it's doing. But the cool thing about this, and the reason we designed it like this, is because it's not just limited to blockchains. Because we can validate any fact statement, it can also be a bank transfer. So did Bob send this bank transfer? So now we can validate that, and then you could have a fiat ramp right onto your favorite blockchain. So that's kind of how it's working at a high level. What we call this network are lizards, so the Mynth lizards. To operate a lizard, you need a Charmeleon NFT. So you hold this with our Mynth token, and then that kind of creates this validation layer that sits on top of the existing consensus layers of blockchains.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you answer one of the questions I was going to have next, and being able to connect to not just blockchains but centralized, systems or networks is going to be important too, right? Pulling data, especially, I mean, when you think of real world assets are going to be tied to off-chain assets or data too as well. So that being able to have that ecosystem to communicate. And so, where are you guys at with the stage of development in terms of Myth? Like, what's going on now and what's coming soon?
Yeah, so we spent like the last almost 2 years on just like that foundation, right? And so like it's been a very long road, and so like people may look at it as like, oh, like there's not much progress, but like as you kind of stated earlier, like there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with actually like validating and building out that technology. And so we've spent like the last we spent like 12 months like integrating 2 blockchains, and so like that might sound like a long time, but like then we integrated 5 blockchains in 2 months, and so now we want to integrate 25 blockchains over the next year. So that's kind of gives you an idea of like it took us a long time in order to build that foundation, but we wanted to build it in such a way where now we can just add new blockchains very, very quickly. So like if we look at where we are today, right now we have 9 blockchains integrated. And then over the next 12 months, we want to get up to 25 blockchains. So what we have at the moment is we predominantly have been focused on stablecoins. So we're transferring like USDC and USDT around because that's where we found like users have the most demands. Like because like you were saying before, it's like you might have a invoice for USDC, but you have it on Solana and they want it on something else. And it's like, well, we fixed that. So now USDC is the same. It's also USDT, and USDC are the same. We're going to bring in more stablecoins. So like, it doesn't matter what stablecoin you have. Like, they're all worth $1. They're all going to be valid across the different networks. And then later on, so probably later in 2025, we'll be expanding to allow any token to any token. So then you can go from any other token. But as of today, it's just like transferring USDC and USDT across nine different blockchains.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's definitely a great place to start. I tell people all the time, stable coins are really going to fuel adoption because that's what, if people are doing business day to day, right now, they're more comfortable accepting stablecoin. I can get a business to on ramp easier with stablecoin than Bitcoin and others, unless they truly understand the future of this. Then it becomes like more speculated. But if they need to take payments and then turn those payments into payments to other vendors, and they're operating off of thin margins right now, they can't afford right now to take something that could fluctuate in price, you know, 5 to 10% daily. So it's good to focus on stable coins. I think that's where it's going to get a lot of people in. They're going to get used to the mechanics of using digital assets, and when we see more user adoption, it's definitely going to expand. Those of us that are hardcore, in the space, like sometimes it's more like, if you want to pay me in this, go ahead, Bitcoin, Solana, something, I'll take it. But that's definitely a good starting point. So 25. You said 25 more or 25 total by the end of the year? Or
25 total. So yeah,
okay, yeah.
25 by 2025. That's our goal. And we'll just go down the list of like the top 50, just one by one.
Right.
So yeah, we want to be that network, and it's going to be an open network. So when people want to add in a new network, they'll be able to add that. And because it's an open system, you can come in as a liquidity provider and say, hey, I'm going to start offering this token on this network, and then so long as there's demand there, like if people are sending, like you'll be able to start earning some fee revenue from that.
Okay, nice. So let me ask you this: is kind of from a personal point with our business. So our token is on our own blockchain. We run an interoperability protocol, which is interoperable with all chains. It works different. Probably maybe some synergies there with what you're doing, but outside of that, we were originally built five and a half, 6 years ago, right? Using the EOS stack and was originally EOS IO, and now it's altered some. But we have a wrap token on ETH that we have to, you have to have, we have the wrapper built to where you can wrap it, and so the wrap token is on Ethereum. But we've explored adding it to other chains. Like obviously Base right now would be a good one. But if with what Mynth has, would there be, like, say you supported our chain, right? I know you probably got a lot more ahead of ours, but say hypothetically it was supported, would I be able to take that token without a wrapper and be able to support it on Base without having to wrap it, or would I have to wrap it first?
No, so what you're referring to is like a bridge, right? Where you want to move one token from a chain to another. Like what Mynth is doing is allowing like the transfer of two different tokens. So we don't provide bridges. We may rely, and we have a couple partnerships with bridges, but we do not do the bridging ourselves. With our Mynth token, what we're doing is we have our own network that is bringing that to different blockchains, but that's for our technology itself. And so like Mynth doesn't provide bridging services. So if you wanted to bring a token onto a new blockchain, you would have to go to one of the existing bridges. But like the benefit of us is like that bridging can take a couple hours sometimes, depending on the validation. Well, the benefit of us is like if you wanted to do a swap between two bridge tokens, you can do that in a matter of minutes.
Gotcha.
And so that's where we have some partnerships with existing bridges, because you can do a one-to-one swap between like the native token and then the bridge token. But like a user, they don't want to wait, and so that's why we have this kind of auction system on top, where like if you're willing to pay a bit of a fee to kind of incentivize someone to like do the waiting on your behalf, then they will do the bridging, and then we just handle the swap. And you get your token in a couple of minutes, and then they will go in and wait for the bridge validation.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being valuable. I mean, initially with speculation, because anytime there's a disparity in the price between the regular token that's on a bunch of exchanges and the one that's on Uniswap, there's people trying to bridge one way or the other and take advantage of that, and they get upset when that arbitrage you're trying to make disappears by the time they get it over, because it takes a while. So I mean, that's the initial value. There's going to be a lot of other reasons for it, but initially, I think someone's trying to do a quick arbitrage. They may they may want to pay that fee. So that's interesting to look into. That's solving another problem that people have with bridging, because they don't realize, they think, just like a transaction could be instant, and that bridging will be, but there's a lot of complexities there, and they can take a while.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like one of the things we wanted to avoid. Like bridging is very intense. Like it requires a lot of like security precautions, and a lot of validation. So that makes it slow. And the key differentiator with bridging versus Mynth is a bridge relies on two-way cross-chain communication. Mynth just does one way, and so that's how we're able to speed things up and also speed up our development, because we don't have as much of an attack vector. We've really just minimized and we've focused on this specialty of just doing the cross-chain swap. And that is it. And like we don't do anything else. And so we are able to do that really well. We can do that in a couple of minutes. We can do that really securely. And then the bridges, they can do what they need to do because they're doing a bigger job where they have to have two-way communication. You have to have lock stuff up in a secure way. They're doing a different job, and so they have to have different security premises.
Gotcha. Nice. All right, so let's tell everybody what's coming up with Mynth here. You guys have some releases coming out in January. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we have the mainnet out at the moment, and then we're going to be expanding to different blockchains. And so what we're doing in January is our IDO. So that is an initial DEX offering. So that's where we're going to be taking our Mynth token and we're going to be deploying it for the first time on 9 different blockchains. So we've partnered up with 4 different launch pads. And so this is in January 21st. And it's going to be your first opportunity to buy the Mynth token at a large quantity. And you can trade that on various DEXs. So the way to kind of participate in this is you'll pick your chain of choice. So say it's Solana, that's what you want. Then you'll go to, I believe we're using Gempad for that chain, and then you will buy that, and then the Mynth token will be on the Solana. And then for other users who choose the other blockchains, the Mynth token will be on that blockchain. So that allows us to support all of the different wallets. So it doesn't matter which wallet you have or which blockchain you're using. This is going to be your opportunity to get in on the ground floor and help build Mount Mynth to support even more integrations.
I got you. Nice. And so I'm guessing, I mean, you mentioned Solana, that's one of the majors, right? You're going to launch on there. I'm guessing Base as well. Is that going to be, that's probably the 2 hottest ones right now?
Yeah, Base and Solana, they've been kind of our 2 focuses. We also have Ton, so that has been a hot one. We're not doing Sui just because there weren't any launch pads available, but we are going to be doing an integration. So we can't do the IDO because we don't have an ability to sell the token, but like the integration part we will do.
Gotcha. Nice. Looking forward to that. And what about, let's talk about the user experience. So we're talking about the mechanics of how it's going to work. So where will somebody interact with the Mynth network?
Yeah, so this is kind of the unique thing and something that a lot of people kind of get confused about, and that Mynth doesn't provide any user interface. So at the core, Mynth is a B2B business, which means like we partner with other businesses. And so we have integration partners who build front ends for us. So in January, we're going to be announcing a new integration partner who's going to be connecting with the 9 different blockchains. And right now, we have a couple of partners that are more localized on some other blockchains. And so the way you kind of interact with Mynth is to use other applications. And so that's kind of been our limiting factor at the moment because there's not a whole lot of other businesses building on top of Mynth. But come January or February in 2025, when we announce our new partnerships, that's where we're going to be like pushing. So we're not going to be pushing people, oh, you come to Mynth website and use it. We're going to say, hey, like, here's the 2 options. Like, go pick your favorites, and then you can use that app. Ideally, longer term, we want to get integrated into directly into wallets. So say, for example, using Trust wallets, you'll be able to just like do the swap directly in there. So the reason we kind of gone with this approach is it allows Mynth to be scalable as the infrastructure and allows us to focus on what we're good at. And then the other businesses can kind of build on top of Mynth and provide those specialized front-end experiences. So, and then ultimately, my vision is like people are going to be using Mynth without even thinking about they're using it, right? Like if we do our job successfully, like you're going to be using it, but you're not even going to know that Mynth exists. It's just going to be a daily thing, and it's like transfer the tokens. Like, oh, my token moved. I don't know how it worked, but it worked. So thank you for whoever did that.
Nice, love that. That's where we need to get to with everything, right? People are using it, and they don't even realize that they're using it. That's same thing I tell people all the time with crypto, blockchain, the whole everything everybody's referring to as Web3. Like a user should be able to come in and not even realize they're using anything on chain, right?
Yeah.
Just simple, seamless. So love that. So Robert, as we wrap up, can you tell everybody where they can follow along with Mynth and keep up with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, sure. So the best way to kind of follow along is on our X account. So MYNTH, you can search that. We also have Discord. So you can go to mynth.ai for our website and find all our social links. In our Discord, you'll be able to get any of your questions answered. That's where our team is most active. We also have a Telegram group that is for notices. So we're on like most of the socials, but if you want just like the announcements, go to our X, and if you want to ask questions, go to our Discord.
Awesome. Well, definitely everybody make sure to follow along with what they're doing. I'm excited to see this come to fruition and keep up with what you guys are doing. So, Robert, thanks again for joining us today. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.